Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys pretty much like the ultimate form of zero ticking on the Bedrock Edition. This can be used for pretty much any and every crop. So the tutorial today is going to be kind of a triple part tutorial where I show you how to build a zero tick sugarcane farm, a zero tick bamboo farm, and a zero tick cactus farm at the same time. Overall, this is a pretty awesome technique. So this is going to be a pretty in-depth triple tutorial of Doom. So if you do end up enjoying this, please do leave a like on the video or consider sharing this around with those who you might think are interested, because it's not often that we do triple tutorials, and honestly it's just like a really awesome farm that you guys are definitely going to want to build. So these zero tick farms work on any Bedrock Edition world that you would want to use them on. They work on realms, solo worlds, servers, whatever you want to do, these farms will work just fine for you. It does require a little bit of chunk aligning, but honestly that's very straightforward, and I'll be walking you through that, so there shouldn't be any issues on that front. And also, these farms are infinitely expandable as well. You could have these farms going all the way from bedrock to world height if you want to. You can have as many of them in one area as you want to, and you can mix and match different farms too. As you can see right here, we have all three of the different farms: bamboo, sugarcane, and cactus as well. They all work perfectly fine in tandem, and really it's just as customizable as you could possibly want it. So this farm is a little bit hard to actually demonstrate in action, since the crops that we are zero ticking need to be in unloaded chunks. So I can't actually go over there and show you guys this in action, because that would kind of break the entire farm. However, what I can show you in action is us actually harvesting the crops. So as you can see, we have a little bit of a water stream right there. If I go into third person, you can see that we're having a bunch of sugarcane, bamboo, and cactus be automatically delivered over to us. Technically, you don't need to have this water stream. You could have your actual storage system just be over there by the farm, but this is really the only way to actually demonstrate it. So if we just go ahead and hop out of this minecart for a second, wait a second for the farm to probably turn off, and then go collect these crops, you can see that we have quite a few things rolling in. And now that we are loading the rest of the farm, more items are going to be flowing in as well. Again, that farm is partially in unloaded chunks when you're actually using it. So as you can see, just from that little minecart ride, we got ourselves a half stack of sugarcane, half stack of cactus, and 48 bamboo too. And that is only with 4 bamboo, 4 sugarcane, and 4 cactus plants. As you can see, this is a very, very efficient farm. So this might seem like a total and utter witchcraft, and honestly it kind of is, but this just uses a bug to actually update the plants and make them grow much faster. Very straightforward, and honestly this is just kind of how Bedrock Edition is with the simulation distance of the world, so I kind of highly doubt that this is going to be fixed in any future update anytime soon. So if it does ever break though, I will of course update the pinned comment of the video, and I'll also update the description as well, so check those if you're curious if this farm still works. So you might be wondering how exactly this form of witchcraft works, and honestly it's pretty straightforward. As you can see right now, I have a chunk border resource pack on. This shows the chunk borders throughout the world and these red and blue lines. And as you can see, there is a red line going right through the half of this farm. That indicates that this half of the farm is in one chunk, and this half of the farm with all the plants and the water streams is in a different chunk. So this back half of the farm with all the redstone and chaotic spaghetti water streams, that is always going to be loaded. However, as we are traveling on our minecart over there, we will occasionally be loading this part of the farm with all the crops in it. When it's loaded, the crops will grow and be harvested, and all the drops will go into the water streams. However, when it's unloaded, we're going to be powering these lower pistons, which will move the block that is underneath the crops. It'll move it forward and retract it, and that'll give the plant an update. Now, some of these plants require multiple updates to actually grow and produce a crop. That is totally fine. But basically, when it's unloaded, we update it. When we load it again, it receives that update, grows, and then we harvest it. And honestly, it's pretty straightforward. So at this point in the tutorial, you likely want to know the rates of these different crop farms. And don't worry, I got those all laid out in front of you right here with the different amounts of updates required for the plants to actually grow. So starting with a bamboo, it only takes 1 update or 1 pushing of the blocks underneath the crops while they're in unloaded chunks for them to actually grow. With 4 plants, you get 5,500 drops per hour, which, as you can see, very, very efficient. When it comes to Cactus, this takes 3 updates or 3 pushing of the blocks underneath them to actually grow, and with 4 plants you get 2,500 drops per hour. Moving on to Sugarcane, this takes 4 updates to grow, and with 4 plants you get 2,700 drops per hour. But as you can see, just by having 4 plants in these farms, you're already getting a significant amount of drops per hour, which is pretty awesome. And again, these things are basically infinitely expandable. They can be up to 48 blocks wide, they can go from bedrock up to world height, and honestly, it's just really awesome. Thank you very much to 77 Tiger for discovering and sharing this technique of zero ticking crops. And honestly, just thank you very much for sharing it with the broader community as well. That way we can all have nice and amazing farms, because as we all know, zero tick farms are basically the best that there is. So thank you again, 77 Tiger, very much appreciated. Alright, so let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? This one is going to be a pretty straightforward one. Now, one thing that you will actually need from the description of the video is this resource pack. This works on mobile and PC as well, so download this. It's going to make your life much easier. If you are on Xbox or on Switch and you are unable to actually get this resource pack, then don't worry, there are about a bajillion different ways to actually mark out chunk borders. Once you've found the borders of one chunk in your world, then you can just kind of expand from there, since these things are in a perfect grid. So what you need to do now is you need to check your simulation distance. So if you are on a solo world, what you need to do is go to your settings, go to your game settings, and then just scroll down a little bit, and that'll show you your simulation distance. This is the actual distance of the world that the game is loading around you. This is completely independent of render distance. Render distance is just what you can actually see throughout the world. Simulation distance is what's actually being loaded. So on screen right now, you can see a little bit of a graph of 4 chunk simulation distance, and as you can see, it's quite tiny. So you can actually increase your simulation distance in solo worlds. However, that is going to make it so that there's a slightly different build process for you, but don't worry, I'll cover that in the tutorial. And also, if you are on a realm, realms always have default 4 chunk simulation distance. There is no way to change that. So we need to mark out our very center AFK chunk. As you can see, I marked this one out in white. And then this is basically just where you're going to be AFK. We're going to have our minecart rail over here. So make sure it's just a nice, safe place to AFK for long periods of time. And then moving on from there, if you have a 4 chunk simulation distance, you want to mark out 4 chunks going off in whatever direction you want our farm. The farm's going to be going off in that area of the world. So that's going to be 1 chunk, 2, 3, and then 4 over there. And then as you can see, these gray chunks back here, these ones are always going to be unloaded if we're actually standing in this central chunk. So keep that in mind. Now, because the loaded area of the world around the player is a diamond shape, we actually have 3 chunks that we can utilize here at the end. So as you can see, that is our central chunk. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the left and to the right of that is also a loaded area. That chunk's unloaded, that chunk's unloaded, and everything past that is also unloaded as well, as you can see from the graph. Now, our farm is going to be going halfway inside these unloaded chunks and halfway inside these unloaded chunks. That way, the zero ticking actually works properly. Again, this is just for a 4 chunk simulation distance. If you have, for instance, a 6 chunk simulation distance, then you need to go out by 6 chunks. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and then the left and right chunk of that would be loaded, and then for instance this would be your next unloaded chunk. So if you have like a simulation distance of 10, then you need to go out by 10 chunks. So it's honestly going to be a lot easier if you're playing on 4. That way it just keeps everything nice, small, and simple. And that's what I'll be doing the tutorial for as well, is a 4 chunk simulation distance. 4 chunk is basically the standard and what 90% of people actually play on. So that is pretty much all the preliminary setup that we need to do for our farm with the chunk marking and all of that stuff. If you didn't understand bits of that, or if you didn't understand any of that, of course, feel free to ask questions in the comment section down below. We're always very helpful, and I try to read all the comments on the entire channel. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up our AFK rail line and redstone lines to actually activate our farms. So the first thing that we're going to do is stand in our central chunk. our AFK chunk, and then go 3 blocks into our first chunk. Place down a solid block, a redstone block, a piece of powered rail, and then a detector rail. This should be right inside of your first chunk, bordering on your AFK chunk. And now we're going to place down 5 more actual powered rails. You can power these things basically any way that you like. A normal rail, 1 more powered rail, a solid block, and then just a lever right there, and your minecart's just going to be going right there. What's going to be happening here is as you actually go back and forth, you're going to hit that detector rail that's going to power your redstone lines and of course power your farm. And that's really all there is to your AFK rail line. Of course, make sure that you're fully encased and secured because you don't want to die when you're AFK. And also, you kind of just want to make sure that this is in the general center of the chunk. It doesn't really matter where this is lined up. Like, it could be over here, it could be on this side, it really doesn't matter. I just put it kind of in the center. But now we're going to be putting down the actual redstone lines. So as you can see, I put down some blocks to actually place our redstone on. You can place down additional nice fancy blocks if you want to. Again, it doesn't matter, just doing this for the tutorial. We're actually going to replace this detector rail real quick with a lever. Flick that, and then this will make placing down all of your redstone extremely easy, because as you can see, the redstone's power is going to run out, and then you just kind of replace that with a repeater. Now, all of the left side repeaters are all going to be on 1 ticks each, and then the right side repeaters will have different timings. We'll get to that in a minute, but you just need to run this going all the way to your actual final loaded chunk. So as you can see, these are going to be the final 3 loaded chunks, and we're just going to run this redstone line further in. So this left redstone line is going to be for the actual top pistons of our farm, which harvest all the crops. So we want those to fire as we're actually, loading the chunks, hence why these are all on 1 tick. Now, the right side redstone line is going to be the actual redstone line that powers all of the lower blocks and actually makes the crops grow. And we want this one to fire as we are not loading the chunks. So this one's going to have some more delay. Your first repeater is going to have 4 ticks on it. And then moving on to our second repeater, this one's going to have 3 ticks on it. And then finally, the third repeater is going to have just 1 tick on it. And then we're just going to run this redstone line further in and just leave it right there. And then this is where you're actually going to connect up to whatever type of 0-tick farm you actually want to make. So from this point in the tutorial, we're going to split into kind of 3 different tutorials. First of all, we are going to cover the bamboo farm. After that, we're going to cover the sugarcane farm because it's extremely similar to the bamboo farm, just a couple very small modifications. And then after that, I'll show you guys how to build a 0-tick cactus farm using this method. So if you want to use the cactus farm, skip to the timestamp on screen right now. And if you want to use the sugarcane farm, you still need to watch the bamboo farm because it's basically exactly the same. Don't forget to replace your lever with a piece of detector rail as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with a bamboo farm, and we're going to be starting off with a 16 plant bamboo farm. This thing is going to produce 22,000 bamboo per hour. Yeah, I think this will suffice it just fine for you guys. So you want to come to your furthest loaded chunk. This is your 4th chunk from your center. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, these are going to be the unloaded chunks. And then you just want to place a sticky piston 1 block off the ground facing into your unloaded chunk. There should be a chunk border right in between this sticky piston and your piece of dirt. So this is of course going to be for bamboo. We're going to make this 16 blocks across, so you're going to need yourself 16 sticky pistons for this lower layer. Go ahead and put some dirt on the front faces of that, and then we want to go ahead and just have some glass or some solid blocks above those pistons, and then another layer of pistons right above that. These ones are actually going to be normal pistons because they're just going to be breaking the bamboo. So go ahead and place these going all the way across the top. So once you know that there is a chunk border in between this piston and this piece of dirt, you don't really need your texture pack anymore. I'm going to turn it off because it is kind of annoying and it kind of hides the view of all the circuitry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run a line of solid blocks behind all of these pistons, and then a line of solid block behind all of these pistons too, and then just go ahead and cover both of those blocks in lines of redstone. Now what we need to do is we need to connect this lower line up to the right side line. This is the slow one, and then we need to connect the upper line to the left side, which is the fast one. So the lower layer is very simple. Go ahead and line yourself up with the right side redstone, and then place an upper slab right there with a solid block below it, and then just get yourself a repeater and 3 pieces of redstone going up like so. Now we want to go ahead and grab ourselves a lever and make sure that this can actually power every single one of our pistons on the lower layer. As you can see, it can. If 1 or 2 of these pistons on the end are not powered, then you need to move around your repeater a little bit to actually be able to power them all. Anyway, now that we've confirmed that that's all going to work, grab yourself a couple of observers, make one face that piece of redstone dust right there, and another one face that observer like so. This is actually going to really help boost the efficiency of your farm, since every time that you send a pulse down this redstone line, you're actually going to be getting 2 activations out of your farm. The upper layer is even simpler. Line yourself up with the left side redstone and then place 2 solid blocks right there. You want a repeater and then just a redstone dust, and then basically just step this down with a little bit of a staircase of solid blocks. Run the redstone right up that, and then just get yourself a lever, power that, and then make sure that can power every single one of your upper pistons. If it does, then you are good to go. So now swing around to the front side of the farm, and we need to place down either some glass or some solid blocks right underneath of these pieces of dirt. I'm going to be using glass, of course, because it looks a lot nicer. And then we also need to kind of wrap that around the front side as well, because now we're going to be installing our water streams. You also need to go ahead and remove all of these blocks right here and replace them with either packed ice or blue ice. Packed ice works just fine, so don't worry about it if you don't want to go for the blue ice. And then just place a water bucket in either corner lined up with the very edges of the farm. Now this is going to meet up perfectly in the center right here, so just choose one of these 2 blocks that you want to actually be your proper center. We're going to say it's going to be that one right there, and then we're going to mine that down and flip around it to the back side. Now this is basically where your water stream is going to be coming out to the rest of your farm and into your storage system. So again, just place down another packed ice water stream with another water bucket and just lead that into whatever storage system you like. If we go ahead and we toss a few items into these water streams, you'll see that they all end up right back there in the corner just fine. Nothing is ever going to get stuck or lost, so that's pretty straightforward. And again, I want to really drill this into your head. This produces 22,000 items per hour, and that is triple hopper speed. So if you're not prepared with your storage system is going to be getting backed up. So make sure that you have ample amounts of very quick storage. So finishing up the bamboo farm now, you want to go around and just kind of completely encase this thing in blocks of your choice. Again, I'm using glass because it looks nice, but you basically just want to put a 3 tall wall going all the way around the entirety of the farm. Finish that up on this side too, and on that side you also want to place some blocks above the bamboo. That way, you know, it doesn't grow too tall, break everywhere, get all over the place. And also when it's 0 ticking, it'll only ever grow 2 blocks tall anyway, so don't worry about it. But now you can actually go ahead and place down a bamboo on each and every single one of these guys. So your bamboo farm is now completely done and dusted. Now we can go over to the actual AFK spot and activate the farm. If you've done everything correctly, everything should go off without a hitch and just work perfectly fine. Now, if you do have any issues with your farm actually breaking the plants so that there are no plants left over in your farm, what you actually want to do is extend this rail line. Now, that is very simple. Just add a couple more blocks to it, and that'll slow down the rates of your farm a little bit, but also make it more reliable in case you are having issues with your plants breaking. Now, it's also very important that you never load that farm as it's being activated. If a player loads that farm as you're activating it, it will break. All of the plants in your farm will be broken, so keep that in mind. So what you want to do to actually properly turn it off is just flick that lever, wait for yourself to stop, hop out of the minecart, give it a couple seconds, really just to make sure, and now we can go over here and see what's up. Now, typically, we will have a little bit of loss on these edges of dirt. I've minimized loss as much as I possibly can with this design, but as you can see, there is going to be a little bit. We got 14 lost bamboo, and then in our output over here, we have several stacks of it. So as you can see, there is, 14 lost and 3.5 stacks of actual bamboo. So this sugarcane farm right here with 16 plants is going to produce a 10,800 sugarcane per hour, which is just over single hopper speed. So make sure you got at least a double hopper speed storage system to be able to handle all these drops. So to turn this into a sugarcane farm, all you need to do is remove your bamboo, and then we're going to go around the sides of the sticky pistons and place solid blocks beside them, and also place a layer of solid blocks below all of these sticky pistons as well, basically just fully encasing them because we're going to be waterlogging these pistons. So literally just place blocks underneath them and to the sides. They should already have blocks behind them, of course, for the redstone line. So now you want to go ahead and remove all the blocks that are above these pistons, because again, we're going to be clicking on all of these pistons with a water bucket to waterlog them. Get yourself an infinite water source and just click on all of these guys. And then if you go ahead and actually remove the piece of dirt that is in front of these guys, you're going to see that they're going to have water coming out of their face, and they're going to start crying, and it's going to be very sad and traumatic and just sad. Anyway, once they're all waterlogged, go ahead and place the actual, blocks back above them, and you should be able to plant in your sugarcane, and that is actually your entire farm completely done. Okay, so moving on to the Cactus Farm tutorial. This farm is going to use 8 plants and produce 5,000 cactus per hour, so pretty decent. This is going to be a single hopper speed storage system required, so just a hopper going into a chest would work just fine. No need to overcomplicate the storage for this one. Now, if you are skipping to this part of the tutorial, then I would recommend still watching the bamboo and sugarcane parts of the video, because they do have important information that is relevant to all 3 farms, really. Anyway, so to get started with this build, we are of course going to start placing in our sticky pistons 2 blocks off of the ground, and we're going to have a piece of sand in front of them. So to place that sand, we need a solid block underneath it, and most importantly, you want to make sure that there is a chunk border going directly in between your sticky piston and your piece of sand. This is going to be pushing from your loaded chunks into your unloaded chunks, as you can see there. So we want to go ahead and space these things out. We're going to have 8 of these things in total, which will span across the entirety of this chunk. And then also go ahead and make sure to get these solid blocks in front of these pistons so that we can place the sand on them too, just like so. And then in front of all these solid blocks, we actually need to place a piece of string. And this is going to allow the sand to actually stay right there. As you can see, it's not going to fall down. However, the string is not going to stop any items from falling through it. That way, there is no unnecessary loss when it comes to this farm. So again, go ahead and place in all of your pieces of sand, and then place in your pieces of string right in front of these solid blocks too. So now you want to go ahead and grab yourself some normal pistons and place them a block higher than your sticky pistons. And of course, you want to do this going all the way down the line, just like so. And this is going to help push the items off the top of the cactus and into the water stream, helping you with overall efficiency. Now you also want to go behind all of these sticky pistons with a line of solid blocks, and a line behind all of your normal pistons with solid blocks too. Cover both of those lines in redstone dust, and we'll hook up the actual proper circuitry to this in just a moment. Now, before we go further, I do want to mention that we need these pistons here because of a bug. This bug is has been in the game for like 7 updates now. Basically, the top of the cactus is just like completely broken. Like, it doesn't destroy items, doesn't deal damage to mobs. It just doesn't do anything. So, when the cactus actually grows and breaks off, there's a fairly large chance the cactus is going to land right on top of itself. The piston pushes that item into your water stream, and therefore you gain some efficiency. All right, so let's swing around the back side and hook up the actual redstone. We're gonna hook up the lower layer right here to the right redstone track, which is the slow one, and then we're gonna hook up the upper layer to the left redstone track, which is the faster one. So for the right side, you wanna go ahead and line yourself up with the right side track, place yourself an upper slab right there with a solid block, just a block down from that, and then another solid block going down, kind of like a staircase. Run 3 pieces of redstone going up, and then you want to have yourself an observer facing that piece of redstone dust, and another observer facing that one, just like so. And this is going to make it so that every time you activate your farm, it actually activates twice, and this significantly helps with the efficiency of growing all of your crops. So place down a repeater right here, and then a lever behind it. Make sure that that actually powers all of your lower pistons. If it doesn't, then you'll need to adjust where your repeater is, of course. So now go ahead and break that guy. And now what we can do is work on the left side one. So basically just go ahead and get yourself a couple solid blocks right there, repeater on 1 tick, piece of redstone dust, and then just staircase that down until it meets up with the rest of this redstone line. Run this redstone up there, and now grab yourself another lever, put it right behind this repeater, and make sure that all of those pistons actually get extended. So now we can turn off the chunk border resource pack as it's no longer useful and it's just kind of gonna get in the way for the next building step. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and go to the left side of the farm and just pillar up with 5 glass or solid blocks. This is going to be part of the encasing of the entire farm, and you want to put a pillar of 5 going in between each and every single one of your sets of pistons going all the way across the farm. And now once you've got this done, you need to go to the far right side with it as well, swing around the back side and place in these additional blocks that we're missing. And then once we have these blocks filled in, we can actually get the rest of the front of it done. So we need to go off of the corner a diagonal by 2 blocks, and then just kind of run this going all the way across the farm and meet it up with this corner right here. Again, diagonal forward by 2 blocks, and that's pretty much going to be the shape of your farm. We now need to raise this up another 4 blocks, bringing it level with your normal pistons. So go ahead and fill in all these blocks going all the way across. So now that we've gotten in all the walls of this build, what you want to do is go ahead and mine 1 block down in the floor. That's a little bit too far, and now we want to replace the entire floor in this place with a layer of packed ice. So you can use just normal packed ice. Blue ice is a little bit overkill and not quite necessary. You don't need it. Packed ice works just fine. And of course you want to go ahead and do that for the entirety of the floor in here. Now once you've done that, go to the far left side and place in 2 water sources that should flush towards the center. Go to the far right side to place in 2 water sources, and that should flush to the center as well. And now just go ahead and mine this down and install another packed ice water stream, and this is just going to be going into whatever form of storage system that you like. Your storage system can be, again, literally whatever you want. So the final thing to do for this 0-tick cactus farm is go ahead and place cactus on top of each one of your pieces of sand, of course, and also make sure that all the string is still in front of these blocks. If it's not there, as soon as you activate the farm, it's all going to break and fall apart. So make sure you got the string there. And also now we need to place either some glass or some solid blocks in these locations. This is going to help our efficiency as well, as the cactus that does grow isn't going to fall onto the sides of the other cactus or, fall onto itself. It's just going to kind of be contained. And you also want to put another block right above it as well. That way, again, the cactus that pops off, it doesn't land on top of these blocks. And overall, this just helps with loss and lack thereof. So all of those blocks are now in place. So to test out your new cactus farm, it's actually pretty simple. Just go ahead and hop in the minecart, flick the lever, and as long as you've done everything correctly, the cactuses should not pop off. If you do have any issues with the cactuses popping off, make sure to triple check all of your timings and check your spacings as well. Everything needs to be perfectly chunk aligned for it to work. Also, one final warning about this: never load the farm as it's actually functioning. If any player in the world loads the farm while you're using it, all of those plants are going to pop off and you will have to replant everything. Alright, so now that we've been sitting over here for a minute, just go ahead and flick the lever to stop the farm, hop out of the minecart, wait a couple seconds for all of that stuff to stop, and then you can actually head over to the farm. Of course, it's a cactus farm, there's going to be a little bit of loss, but as you can see, there are quite a few items coming through here, and we've already gotten ourselves at 44 cactus from a very, very short minecart ride. So of course, each and every single one of the farms that I showed in today's video is expandable up to 48 blocks wide. You can stack these things up to world limit if you want to. You can have all 3 farms in one area. You can do literally whatever you want. The sky is the limit. Literally, the sky is the limit. So be creative with it, make some extremely efficient farms, and just have fun with it, So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this Bedrock Edition tutorial, of course, hit me up in the comment section down below. And if you did enjoy this tutorial, then please do leave a like on the video or consider sharing it with those who you think might be interested, because this is like a triple tutorial, 3 tutorials in one. So leave 3 likes, get your alt accounts, and leave extra likes with those. Jeez. Anyway, if you are new here and you want to see more tutorials like this in the future, then do consider subscribing as well. We'd love to have you join join the silence. And without further ado, I will see you all down in the comment section and in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and then there was silence.